Hello, I'm Captain McCreary, the former captain of the Axiom, and I have asked the computer to formulate some questions for me to answer so that we can document this event in our history. Computer, first question.
How does the movie envision the future of humanity?
Well, in the movie, the Earth becomes cluttered with trash and becomes inhabitable, and not even a simple plant life form can survive. So all the humans on the planet get onto a gigantic spaceship for a 5-year cruise that takes them out into space while robots are supposed to clean up the Earth. Computer, question 2.
According to the movie, what are the direct and indirect causes of this state of humanity?
Well, the first thing was the enormous amount of trash, which then caused everything to become inhabitable because it covered up all the plants and all the plants were gone. So therefore, there was no oxygen. Computer, question number 3.
What message is the movie trying to convey?
That if people continue on with their the pollution will only get worse and worse and worse. And if we don't do something about our environment and start caring a little bit, that this could happen to us in 100 years or so. Last question, computer.
Based on what you see in the movie, where would you expect humanity to go next if there was to be a continuation of the plot?
Well, as of right now, we are trying to rebuild the earth and we are planting plants, actually. We have a couple fields and we're teaching the children how to farm and grow food. And we're helping to try and restore some of the Wally robots so that we can clear out all the trash. And we have a special group of scientists that are constantly working day and night to help us on our long struggle into recovery. Thank you, computer. Hello, I am the little boy from the road. As you can see, I'm not so little anymore. These videos are taking place many years after the events that were described in the road. Since then, there have been schools that have been built, and as of right now, I am in one of those schools. And I have been asked by my teachers to answer a series of questions that pertain to our experience or my experiences on the road and compare it to a movie. And the movie that I chose was Wall-E. I feel like it is a movie that I can kind of relate to. As in the conflicts would be that we all have a single goal. Mine and my father's being that we wanted to reach the lower ocean because it would be warmer, so we wouldn't have to sleep through the cold winters again. And whereas the captain and Wally and Eve had to get the plant to the center of the ship so that they could return home to Earth, and the bad guys in my book were looters, robbers, thieves, and cannibals that we had to dodge and fight our way through all along the road. Whereas, in Wall-E, the bad guy or the evil character was Otto, the autopilot system for the ship that had been programmed to not allow the ship to ever return back to Earth because Earth was considered inhabitable. And Otto, he didn't do it because he was evil. He did it because he was ordered to, and he could not break his orders, or else they would return to Earth. And the president had told him that that was not possible anymore, and that is why the captain had to fight against Otto. Another question that one of my teachers asked me to answer was based on the fact that me and a lot of my friends didn't know why the world had burnt to ash, basically. None of us had any idea why any of that had happened or how it happened. And they asked us, if we wanted to know and if it really changed anything. And my opinion is no, it didn't change anything. wouldn't have made anything easier, wouldn't have made anything harder. It wouldn't have changed my father's goals and I's goals. It wouldn't have changed our morality. It didn't really have anything to do with any of the things we did. Whereas in WALL-E, this doesn't really apply because you know what happened and why it happened, and the humans know that they basically have to fix their mistakes. Whereas my father and I just knew that we had to stay morally right, and that's all that we really followed was our moral compass. The next question is in response to hope, and it asks if you're supposed to feel hopeless or hopeful at the end of my story and at the end of the story of WALL-E. And I believe in both the stories you're supposed to feel hopeful. In my story, it ends off with basically a video saying that, a paragraph saying that it is possible for us to rebuild. It's just never going to be the same as it used to be. And that's basically kind of how it is in WALL-E as well. They have to rebuild from the bottom up and learn how to plant and recolonize the entire planet. The other part of this question is about the good and evil. And in WALL-E, there isn't per se an evil. It's just the computer that has been ordered to do something and is not able to override that to be able to do the right thing. So he's not evil, he's just misinformed, basically. Whereas in my book, there are people that are eating infants and eating other people, and that is in some ways evil. But if you think about it, they were doing what they had to survive. They were not strong enough to fight off the feelings of hopelessness, and basically they didn't have any hope that they would ever find food again like my father and I did, where we knew that we were strong enough to say that no matter what, we'd rather die than eat another human or do some of the things that a lot of them did. But also, some people in those situations aren't as strong. When you're put in a situation where it's life or death, you have to make a choice. And sometimes the choice has to do with killing and eating people if it comes down to it. I'm not saying it's right and it's evil, but it's not the terrible type of evil that you would think of as in like a supervillain. But as you can tell in my book, the good does triumph. My father and I do, although he dies in the end, my father and I do safely make it to basically where we were trying to go. And I was found by some very good, heartwarming people. And the last paragraph in my book, talking about the trout, is basically saying that it is possible to rebuild our Earth, but it will never be the same as what it used to be. We're basically starting from the bottom, and we are building the Earth the way we want to. We don't have a map laid out to tell us what to do, when to do it. We have to use our own human instincts to rebuild and repopulate the planet. Another question that my teacher asked us was what kept us going and what gave us any type of meaning in our life while we were fighting this terrible experience, the experiences that we had. And definitely one of the things for me was my father. And I think I was for him. If it wasn't for us having the other, we would definitely both be dead. We'd give up hope. We lived for each other. And there were those slight little moments where, such for example, when we both drank it, we found a Coke and drank it. Those are the small little things in life that gave us that little bit of kick that we needed to keep going and keep pushing and know that there was going to be better in the end. And we knew we could not succumb to eating people and killing as many people as possible and looting, because we knew that no matter what, in the end, it all came down to who was the better people. And we knew that our purpose was more than that, to be a common thief and looter and killer and cannibal. We knew we were meant for more than that. And as for carrying the fire, we like to say that I would say that that was my way of saying that I was carrying God's message. I don't know if any other people thought of it that way, but I thought of it as I was carrying God's message, and I held the goodness inside of me and would use it to protect myself and my father in any way possible. The last question that I was asked to answer was, what were some of the most disturbing, gory scenes that I had seen while I was on my journey? some of the things that struck me deeply, and some of the things I will definitely never forget. And the first being, my father and I were searching through this house, and in the back of this pantry, we found a wooden hatch. I didn't want to look down there, but my father insisted. He went out and found a pickaxe and beat away the wood around the lock, pulled it up, walked down there, lit his lighter, and found humans that were being eaten. That's what they were for. They were basically being farmed. There was one man that had his legs chopped off up to his hip, and the ends were blackened, and they were all screaming, "Help me, help me." And my father and I just turned and ran. But definitely the worst scene that I had seen, and the worst thing that's burned in my memory, is my father and I had come across a abandoned camp. We were walking toward it, and the people ran off. When we got there, we were looking around, and suddenly a charred blob caught my eye. I took a closer look, and it was a headless, gutted, and charred infant that they had been roasting on a spit. That is definitely something that I will never, ever, ever forget.